Hi, welcome to Coffee&Closers. I'm Nikolai Bedore, and I want to personally invite you to join me and one of today's top performing sales stars for a cup of coffee and authentic conversation. And our collective goal is that you will walk away with tangible knowledge that you can apply to your sales efforts today. Are you ready? Grab a cup, fill it up. Let's get into another episode of Coffee&Closers. Closers, welcome to another episode of Coffee&Closers. And if you're watching this from home, you may notice, this is being recorded from our living room in Montana. We've expanded, and No Closers studio is in Minnesota and is set to stay there. Our mountain studio is being built, and it won't be built till September. So it's going to be fun to kind of record these on the road, and can't wait to share all that news with you. For those of you that I have not met, my name is Nikolai Bedore. I'm the host of Coffee&Closers and the Chief Revenue Officer of Closers Media. So what does Closers Media do? We help businesses grow by kind of meeting them where they're really at. We found that there are two buckets that our clients fall into. One is they just want to have more conversations with their ideal buyer. And for that, we offer prospecting as a service. For those that have a great marketing team, great lead, gen thing coming in, but they just can't convert those conversations into happy paying customers, we still offer our award-winning sales playbook and coaching offering. So if revenue is a top priority for you this year, make sure to hit me up personally, Nikolai, at closersmedia.com, or visit our website, closersmedia.com. All right, back to the show. This month's guest, Callan Faulkner, is one of the nation's leading experts in making your CRM work for you. She spent the last 10 years perfecting the science on how to turn the tool most of us hate into a revenue growth superhero. As a VP of experience over at Kennedy Rowe, she's earned accolade over accolade as she helped her clients sell more by automating the right way. Most recently, she paired this expertise with her passion, which is also mine, real estate investing, and launched Reioptimize, where she helps fellow real estate investors automate the minutia, the boring stuff, so we can all focus on closing more investment deals. Closers, please give a massive Coffee&Closer welcome, Ms. Callan Faulkner.
Hey.
What is up? How are you?
Doing? I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Well, I've been waiting for this one for a while, and selfishly, not only to learn from you, but to finally get 30 minutes uninterrupted with you. So thanks for coming on the show.
It's hard to come by. My family says the same thing. Like, oh, great. We can talk for 30 minutes. That's really unusual. Thank you. No, I'm excited to be here.
Well, I thank your family for sharing you with the closings community here. So you've got an incredible story. So we'll get to the theme of the show, but you've got an incredible sales story. Would you mind kind of kicking off and sharing it with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So Minnesota born and raised, graduated from St. Thomas with an entrepreneurship degree. I played soccer in college, so I was going to go down the health and fitness path. But early in my college days, I got into selling Cutco, broke some records in the office. I'm like, okay, I probably should go into sales. This is just a little bit inevitable. Both my parents were in sales, so went that direction. Always been in the small business game right out of school. I had an internship with SPS Commerce for a while, and I loved it, but I just really wanted that small startup-y vibe. So I went to work for a digital marketing company based in LA, and that was a commission-only sales gig. That was straight up, we are cold calling, we are hitting phones, we are drumming up business to sell websites, social, kind of all the things that a small business would need from a marketing perspective. After that, I got into my first gig doing enterprise CRM implementation. So that was a sales role, kind of a similar vibe. Just we're cold calling, we're finding opportunities to implement CRM. I was there at that company for 5 years. So that was big. I would say like Fortune 10,000, medium to large size implementation. So the average implementation was 150,000. We're talking a year, multi-year, big, 100 plus users. And I think we all say this, we learn a lot from failure, but saw a lot of CRM implementations fail. And at that point, I was just on the sales side. So over time, that's really where my heart's always been, is this sales and the relationships. But over time, I kind of got more into the implementation side, really seeing why things are failing. Okay, we didn't have executive buy-in, or we didn't have the end user buy-in, or there wasn't really a clear view of where this was all going. It was kind of just based on emotion. So I kind of started to find these nuggets, and then that brought me to my my current role as the VP of Experience at Kennedy Rowe, where I'm kind of doing both. I'm sales. I'm making sure folks are happy and they're having a great experience, but also overseeing the implementation and the vision of CRM, but also, if we're building an app or if we're building out the website, it's all connected, right? It should be all connected, I guess, is what it should be.
Yeah, it should be. That's the nugget of the day. Well, with that, I guess, great transition. The theme of this episode is making your CRM work for you. So if we don't mind, we're gonna kind of jump. We're gonna kind of tear them through this, right? Let's go layer by layer, but let's start with the basics. So why do you feel, and you've kind of touched it a second, but I want to kind of go deeper. Why is it such a 4-letter word in sales? And how did you learn to flip the boat and train it? So you saw failed implementations, but you've learned to kind of flip the boat and make it work for you and thus close more business, which is what we all want.
Totally.
Can you cover that a little bit?
Yeah. I think CRM is a very emotional topic for a lot of salespeople because it oftentimes, especially in the beginning of CRM. So for those of you that are like, okay, I kind of know what it is, to break it down a little bit, CRM stands for customer relationship management. So the original purpose of the tool was to have a place for anything related to your customer. So obviously basic information, right? Like their contact information, but also information about what have they purchased? Who are they? What connections do they have? When's the last time we talked to them? If it's set up properly, it's great. Like it should work really well. And we should be connected to the website. We should know when they were on our site and what they were looking at and what they downloaded. Like it should be this great place to go and to use information. It should be all connected. It should be on your phone. It should be easy. What happened was, though, when this first started coming out, all the VPs of sales and these executives saw it, and they said, oh my God, I'm going to be able to see how many calls my salesperson made, how many touches they made. I'm going to be able to see all this data, and I'm going to be able to manage my team in this tool, which is kind of true, but that should never have been the reason why we implement something, to micromanage a group of people who do not want to be micromanaged. Salespeople are the last person that wants the number of phone calls tracked in the system. So it started to become a tool where it's like, hey, put your data in, put your notes in. And it wasn't valuable for the salesperson. They're like, I already know where my notes are. I already have a follow-up system that I built, like in myself. I know how to manage my inbox. Why am I using this? Yeah. So then everyone stopped using it. And then when some people stopped using it, then the executives blame the partner because they're like, hey, you didn't implement it right, it doesn't work. And then we're like, no, your people just don't see value in the tool. So it's this crazy little circular web of stickiness that we now avoid by adding value to the end user, which I'm sure we'll talk about today.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it right now, actually, because that's an interesting thing. So when I sold ERP software for many years prior to going on my own, but and some of those ERP packages came with CRM. Not all of them were good, but what is a good CRM? It was. We found that when we were selling into, we'd ask them about shelfware. And shelfware is a loose term because shelfware could be something that literally sits on the shelf. You purchased it, implemented wrong, or not implemented at all because you don't want to spend the bucks. And now you're paying these annual fees for whatever reason. But the thing we saw the most was our sellers don't use a CRM the right way. And what you just touched on, which I want to break even off a little bit more, because there's two sides of this story, okay? There is the implementation, meaning who is the decision maker setting this up? Is it the end? Is it the user? Is it me, the seller? Or is it what you think it should be, the manager who's setting up for you, who never will actually have to use it, in the field, if you will? Am I right or wrong there? And then can we talk about maybe from the setup the right way so sellers actually use it? How do we get there?
Totally. So first thing about the decision, of course, it's going to start with management. It's going to come from the top of wanting to embrace technology. Love it. That's awesome. I'm super down. Thank you for bringing this opportunity. Now I want you to go away for a little bit. And this is seriously something that we do. Managers leave. They're not even on the call. We have calls with the folks that are going to use the tool. So we say, okay, who's going to use the tool? Okay, sales is going to use the tool. Okay, well, we're going to have a call. Give me a couple sales pairs. I love the one-to-ones, not recorded, nothing. Like this isn't sometimes even an anonymous survey, to be totally honest, because I want your true thoughts. Because a lot of times they have an idea of what CRM is already, and they have an idea of what Salesforce is. They have an idea of what HubSpot is. They think HubSpot's, oh, cool, new, sexy. Like, oh, I want that. Well, you don't. I want to know why. So we break all those down. I even want to talk to the customer service admin. Like I want to talk to everybody because I want to understand exactly why we're using the tool and what we're doing today and where the barriers are. So for example, one of our clients, one of the biggest problems was everything was in stagnant Excel docs. So it's like customer service had all these, they're a food manufacturing company. So they had all these cases like, oh, we had rocks on our food. We had, issues, problems, shipping issues, logistics, whatever. Salespeople had no insight. So they'd walk into a sales meeting and they'd get absolutely blown up in the meeting because they had no idea that there were problems. They maybe got into their email inbox, but they had 100 emails that day, so they missed it. So for them, for looking at that from afar, I'm like, okay, this is all about getting those cases, what we call them cases, customer service cases, into the tool first, because now the salespeople will have a reason to log in because they'll want to see, okay, I'm just going to quick check, like, are we good? Everything look good with that? Or what's the status of that before they walk into their sales meeting? And the VP of sales pushed back. They're like, no, we need to make sure I need a pipeline. I'm like, you're not going to have a pipeline. You're not going to have any data in here if the salespeople don't log in. So if there's no people adding data, then you're not going to have a pipeline. So that's kind of one example of value. I would say if you're talking about implementing for a salesperson, you need to give them a reason to log in. I like getting marketing in sometimes first, because if we have leads that are assigned to them, they're sitting in the system ready to go, they're going to log in. If you give them a way of creating a quick contract, a quick proposal, and we're just filling in a quick document it sends for e-signature, they're going to log in. So we have to figure out, what is that? Is that communicating with customer service? Is that automating these tasks, requesting a sample, so that usually you had to like go and find this Excel doc and fill this whole thing out and email it to the person. Like, can we just do that in this tool? So you're going to hear me say that, but like many times we have to give them a reason to log in, because if they're only going in there to add data for their manager, that's not enough.
Right. Oh, this is great. I was going to ask immediate steps listeners can do today to help their CRM take work off their plate versus add. But I have a hunch that, because again, right, like I've used CRM, I've never implemented. So maybe I just answered my own question is that even possible? Like if I'm a seller, okay, and it was set up one way, is there a way for me to be proactive and say, you know what, I'm going to make a couple tweaks that will take some work off my plate versus just add a data entry second job to my already stressful sales job? Is that possible? I guess I don't really know.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say in most salespeople's situation, they really only, let's just say you're at a medium-sized company, like you're going to have the ability to create your own views. You're going to be able to have the ability to kind of extract the data that you want, but building your own workflow, building your own automation is probably out of the realm of what you would typically do. Now, if you're at a small startup, like 100%, you're going to be doing all sorts of crap that's not a part of your job. So that's a kind of leads me to the next point of why CRM fails is you rely too much on partners. I mean, I even say that to my clients themselves. Like, you have to have somebody internally that is technical, but they have business understanding, because your salespeople are going to need, like, hey, I really need like these 5 email templates in there. Like, it'd be really nice because these are my follow-up emails, and I really would love for these case studies to be in there too, because I use these all the time. Like, they need somewhere to go and someone to ask. Or, hey, it would be really great to have this automation. Like, every time I change the status to contract, create contract, it should just create the contract in DocuSign. Like, that should just be a workflow. So having an admin, I typically recommend, think of like the business analyst. You're kind of like IT, but you also understand the why, it can't just be a technical developer. And that's a huge mistake that a lot of companies make, is they find that like technical guy and they're like, oh, Jerry built our database back in the 90s. Like, he'd be perfect for this. It's like, well, Jerry is wonderful and he's great at the development part, but he doesn't understand business. And you really got to have both to be able to do some of this stuff, because it's really not development. A lot of these are just if this, then that. Like, they're pretty simple workflows. Like, we're not building code sometimes we are, but that's very rare. And I try to not do that ever, because it gets too complicated. There's really a lot of times no reason for it.
Yeah. We're gonna transition in a minute, but not this minute, like future, like a minute in the future.
Okay.
You said workflow, and I got some questions on sequences, which are different. Workflow. Can we talk about workflow? And basically, if you had like it sounds redundant, but it's two different things: sequence and workflow. When it comes to workflow, you just gave us a couple of examples. But if you were starting a company today, or you were advising one of your many clients, do you have like a go-to workflow template that's like, okay, you guys are different and a little bit different, but really there's a few workflows, things that you should have in here that you would recommend almost across the board at every company?
Yes. I mean, you kind of touched on it in the beginning. We haven't really gotten there yet, that I got into this land investing, real estate investing stuff. And I started, so 100% in that world, I'm like, here's the literal exact recipe for success. You guys all do the same thing. Your sellers come in, you buy property, blah, 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 blah. Now, if we're talking about, we're going from a manufacturing company, maybe we're over to financial services, it gets a little trickier. And that's part of sometimes why it's complex to move from industry to industry. But from a sales perspective, yeah, like if you think of just the flow, like a lead is going to come in, we need to qualify it. Mm-hmm. And there needs to be some sort of parameter, some sort of rules of qualifying it. Once it's qualified, it needs to become an opportunity or a deal. There needs to be some data there that we're tracking, some workflows around, like, when do they get a proposal? When do they get a contract? I talk about these documents a lot because oftentimes those are very manual for folks. Mm-hmm. When do other departments need to be brought in to collaborate on a deal? Like, that's sometimes the workflows of like who gets alerted on things. And then just the closing process in general, there's often some pretty similar workflows that we're going to find. But besides that, I mean, of course, with marketing, there's some workflows about, sending emails and when someone clicks and when someone is engaging with it, maybe it gets sent over to sales. But everyone has their own rules. So it's always, it's kind of like a 60-40. Like, we've got like 60% there of like, here's what it could look like. And then we fill in the gaps with how that business runs. Dig
it. All right, workflows. You guys heard that. Any questions, light up. But that was kind of the biggest thing is that, and I've started some companies too. And to be fair, I didn't reach out to you, and I should have, to set up basic workflows like the DocuSign links, just basic things that makes my client's buying experience just effortless. Right?
Your selling experience, right? Like, if you take, and this is the hardest part. I struggle with this too in my own business, right? Just slow down for a sec and look at how this process goes. Okay, you've got someone interested. Like, what are the things that need to happen every single time? And how can we make that as easy as possible? Because it's easy to keep doing the thing that takes 20 minutes over and over and over again. But if you can spend an hour and make it 1 minute.
Yeah.
Now you've just saved yourself the headache. And I don't know about you, but every time I go to even if it's a small task, like I got to go write this email or I got to go do this thing. It's more than just the 20 minutes. Like, it's the brain and of moving to this next thing when that thing should just happen automatically if I took the time to do it and think about it.
And to get there in your world, and so other listeners can hear this, is you're saying, hey, when it comes to workflow, we'll get to sequence. Like, literally the next thing is I want to transition to sequence, which I consider outreach and communication sequences. But when it comes to workflow, you're saying, hey, ask your sellers, or if you're a new company and you're a startup or whatever, ask your sellers or be the seller so you could find out, because to put together an absolute, fantastic buying experience where every step is seamless, and we're on both sides, you and I, right? Like, we buy and we sell. Would that be the advice, or is there something I'm missing where, like, involve the people that?
Yes. Absolutely. Like Lucid app is one of my favorites. Like, let's get a 2-hour block of time. Let's get some of our top reps in there, or maybe not top reps. Get a good little selection, and let's just start blocking it out. Like, okay, so someone starts as a lead. Like, walk me through, where do you guys put your notes? Okay, if the seller sends you, if the potential client sends you information, like, where does that go? And they might just say their email. Okay, that's okay. Just like little red flags here. Like, okay, that's in their email. That's notes are in their notebook. Okay, all right. So now what happens? And just start mapping out the current process. Don't worry about future state. Don't worry about, oh, it'd be great we have DocuSign. Just map out the current state, because I guarantee you, as a business owner or even as a mid-sized manager of salespeople, you probably don't really know exactly what they're doing or what the process is. Like, I think you might think you know, but just start mapping that out, and then just find the little areas where you're like, oh my God, that takes you 30 minutes, an hour? Holy crap. Okay, hyper focusing on that. Don't worry about anything else. And then just, every month or two or whatever, just start kind of knocking these things out. It's easier said than done, but I just try to say, like, just don't overcomplicate it, and just try to bring that tech person in, bring a partner in, and just be like, hey, this is our serious problem that we need to solve this quarter. Our document management process. It is a nightmare. We've got to figure out a solution for it.
See, you know what? Some of our people, some of our listeners, our leaders, I'm sure thinking, is he loading these questions? Is he baiting? Yes, I am, because I want certain ears to hear this, to say, if you're not using it, CRM could be the most powerful tool or the least powerful tool, or the most expensive tool, because it doesn't have, so I love that. Thank you for sharing. Just out of time, I want to make sure that we transition into sequences now. And so this question is going to sound a little redundant, because it's asked a similar way. But as you said at the beginning, you have Kennedy Rowe, you guys have done this, implemented, right? But now what was fun is you got to take that, implement it for yourself in this passion that has become a booming company, Reioptimize it is. And now not only are you eating your own dog food, you're also teaching people, which is such a beautiful way to do business. We do it that way, and I love when other people do it too, is try by fire. And then you take the first bullet, okay, let's change this, let's change that. And then when it rolls out to your clients, you've already tried it. You've been to the front line, so you know that it works because you're trying to get it. Long-winded, but what I'm going to say is, okay, so as far as leveraging your system, and we're going to talk about sequences now, to launch a profitable company of your own, which you just have, what is like your go-to sequence, that you could launch a ton of other companies or help other people launch their companies based on this go-to sequence? What would that be?
Yep. I want to make this really simple too, because I think a lot of times I hear a podcast and they like talk very high level about like, oh, do this thing, this email, and then you track this analytics and you have this thing go. Like, I want to get very actionable here about this. So let's talk a little bit about marketing sequences of today. Marketing, it changes every freaking 6 months. That's why it's like, oh, that's great to go get a master's degree in marketing, but it's like already changed by the time you go do that. So today, I don't know what today is, July 2021. Here's what I'm finding. In my own business, it is text marketing is by far even to my students, having those automatic drips of like, hey, just checking in, even my B2B clients, like I am texting them. Like I have a client, we text, I'm like, hey, what time works for a meeting? He doesn't respond to emails anymore. Like no one's reading, oh, here's our newsletter. Like, not that they're not, and I don't want to make anyone feel badly about their newsletter, but I'm just trying to give you the most actionable. If you are going to spend time, it is personalized one-to-one marketing. So let's break that down. What does Callan mean by that? What I mean by that is when you're communicating with someone, let's say that you have a new lead come in, and you probably get some of these where you get an email back and it's like, hey, Callan, I saw you registered for our webinar. I'd love to talk with you. We work with clients just like you and blah, blah, blah. And just in your industry, maybe I put my industry when I filled the form out. So there's placeholders there. Here's my Calendly link. Let's chat. And it's a very one-to-one marketing. So that sequence works very well. So if we are opening up with, you came to us, or we know about you for some reason, or classic Charlie Hackerson. I'm sure his name, it's like we should take a drink every time someone says Charlie Hackerson on this podcast. But he has something called client stories. So yes, if we're opening up with, hey, we've got a client just like you. I think they were in a similar situation. Felt, found. I know how you feel. They felt the same way. This is what they found after working with us. Let's book a time. Calendly is a game changer in that one-to-one world. And then you get that cell phone number, shooting a text. Hey, reaching out. This is Callan with Reioptimize. I know you watched my webinar last week. I'd love to invite you to my one next week. Here's the link to sign up. But text me if you have any questions. Emojis. I'm an emoji person, like nothing too crazy, but the thumbs up, the smiley faces, like this is actually me communicating with you, a person that may want to work with me. I'm a real person. You're a real person. And so these sequences have to match that. We have to get in that personal world. And even on the selling land side, like when someone is interested in a property, they're going to get a text within 3 hours. Hey, blank. Hey, first name. This is Callan with Solterra. Hey, did you find the property on a map? 3 days later, they're going to get another text from me, right? It's all automated. Hey, just wanted to check in. Did you have any questions about the property? I know you were looking at address. And I have the address because that got stored in my CRM because they were looking at the site. They filled the form out and it got added to their profile. Super hyper personalized sequences.
That is amazing. That you answered my next question, which was how do you cut? I mean, in a world of automation, just destroying automation. That's the way you do it. That's the right way. Is how much time do you think that would take? Like to put together like what you're doing, and then you teach your clients, and someone listening going, "That sounds good for you. You must have more time than I do because I'm so busy doing all this other crap." You're saying cut that other crap out and focus on personalization.
Literally, let's just say you had Keep and Zapier. We could do this in 10 hours, 8 to 10 hours. Like, let's get your contacts imported. As long as we've got first name, last name, it's great. Hey, first name. Hey, it's Callan Solterra. It's been a little bit since we last chatted. Would love to connect. What's your schedule like next week? Okay. It's a literal direct text. Like if you texted me that, I'd be like, okay. I mean, I obviously know you, but even if it was kind of an acquaintance or someone I may have heard of or something I signed up for at some point, like getting back in touch. Keep is a great one because it's cheap. Like I think I pay $70 a month for Keep and I get the full automation suite. And pro tip, Keep comes with really cheap coaching. So I signed up with Keep for my real estate investing coaching business is called Reioptimize. And I have Keep for that. And this is where I do all my automations. And I think it was like $100 and I got like 5-hour-long sessions. And this was incredible. We were literally setting everything up when we were in there. And I probably got halfway done with that. So wow. Yeah, I think.
Keep, is it just keep.com? I doubt it.
Yeah.
Is it like,
yep. So
it is?
Keep KEAP. It got purchased or it's Infusionsoft, either rebranded. Yes, rebranded and created. It's kind of like a HubSpot, but it's way cheaper. HubSpot is wonderful. HubSpot, if you're listening, I love you. You're fantastic, but you are freaking expensive. I mean, to have marketing automation in HubSpot is like minimum $400 a month. It's so expensive. So medium to large size business, but small, we're talking a Keep, KEAP, Zoho is pretty good, but that Keep coaching, man, even for myself, because I'm like, oh, I don't know the UI in here. I don't know the experience. I need to know the buttons. And I know what I want it to do, but I need to be taught.
You heard it here first. So we got to see if we can get those guys to lobby a couple of spiffs. That's awesome. I love learning about new tools too. I mean, I'm not a huge tool guy. I'm a like buy the tool and you know what I mean? Like buy the tool and until something comes around that is unequivocally better, then I'm just gonna stick what I got. So that's what do you use? We use HubSpot. So
that's yeah, it's great. You can afford it.
We use HubSpot and then we use another tool that I'm completely unaware of for our newsletter, which I know I get it. But there's a bunch of sequences. See, I'm clearly not the marketing guru here. You know what I mean? So Ellen is, and
send a newsletter. I just want to clarify that. I feel like I'm like going back on my word. Sending a newsletter is like is validity, that you are a real business doing real things, and it's like a long-term play versus this the one sequence is like, I need to get meetings booked. So
we're on the same page, because that's the one thing. If someone says, what do you really teach and what do you really coach and implement at your clients? That it's 100% personalized outreach when you've actually done something to know something about me, or I've connected or had interest in whatever. It's the same play. Yeah. It's just give a crap about me. You know what I mean? Like, whoa, what a concept.
And I will say, like, finding people's cell phone numbers. I mean, if someone signed up with their email, you could send them a text and be like, hey, I know you signed up with your email. Like, I have your phone number. Like, if you don't want to communicate via text, just let me know. Like, just be a normal person, right? If you were trying to reach out to a connection that you have on LinkedIn, especially if they're connected on LinkedIn, it's like, I'd love to connect with you. A lot of times people have their phone number listed. So one of the apps that I use is Lusha, Lusha, and that pulls cell phone numbers out of LinkedIn profiles. And it's been incredible from a business perspective, but also a real estate perspective.
Yeah. And you found that LinkedIn has, I mean, people put their cell phones on LinkedIn. Like
they don't put it on the profile, but Lusha will go find it.
Interesting. All right. See what I say? Just wanted 30 minutes uninterrupted and selfishly spend better than I thought. I knew it'd be fun, but this has been super valuable. And with that, we got to be respectful of the time, because I could go on and on. So I'm going to kind of mash a question, because we've had conversation, you and I, offline. And this is the kind of failure question and kind of the overcoming question that we get. This was one of our favorite questions that people that listen dig, because we can't all be a CRM guru like you. We can't all understand how to invest in real estate and then so well that we can then teach how to. I mean, not all people can do that. So kudos to you, but we can all fail, right? And what's unique about you is you are an entrepreneur and you are a seller, and so are our listeners. So what I'm going to ask is, can you touch on a time where maybe you hit a wall, right? And then either what you learned from that, or the best advice that you received that you could share with both of those kind of parties to come to work every day, good or bad, and have the mindset to succeed and win.
100%. I mean, to be totally honest, the only reason why I started Reioptimize was because in January, it was pretty clear that I wasn't going to get paid from from Kennedy Rowe, because we have a lot of clients that are in food manufacturing that are selling to cruise lines and casinos, and that was not a hot time earlier this year. And there's no shame in it. I mean, I think it would be unusual if someone didn't have some sort of effect of COVID, and I was really lucky through 2019 I didn't get affected, but it hit the point where I was like, okay, we can't take money out of the business. So I was like, I need to, I have the land investing thing, but it's like, I want to keep buying more property. Like, I don't want to start paying myself from that. How do I do this? And it just came down to, I knew I had this really weird skill set of tech. And to be totally honest with you, I don't like sitting down and building the workflows. Like, that's not joyful to me. I love teaching it because I get such a high from helping people, but that is not like a joyful thing for me. I love talking about it and like talking about the strategy, but like sitting down and building all those zaps and building out the videos and the scripts for the training was literally the hardest thing I've ever done in my whole life. Like, literally, no joke. It was 200 hours of work to get this course done. But my back was against the wall, and I said, okay, how am I want to be full-time real estate. Like, I have to do something. I am totally the queen of listening to the podcast over and over, watching the YouTube video and not taking action. Like, I do it all the time. I mean, I think everybody does. It's really overwhelming to not take action. But I think at the end of the day, where it started was little by little. I took on one client that wanted to pay me to help them with their tech in their land business. Okay, I started with one. Then I got on a webinar and I just reached out, and this company called REI Conversion, they have a CRM for land investors. So I got connected with them, and I was like, hey, I'll do a free webinar. Like, you can invite people. Like, I'll just show them how I'm using my CRM. 50 people came. Okay, so now you're building a little community there and you're teaching, I've given away so much free time in that world, so much free time, probably 100 hours of free time, honestly. But because of that, now I have all these people that are like, okay, cool. She's putting out a course for $3,000, $4,000. Like, I'm down. Like, tell me where to sign. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I'm really answering your question, but I think the point is like, you're not going to climb the mountain in a day. Like watch one YouTube video of something that you're passionate about. If it's real estate and you're not that, I'm not talking just to women, but I think just as a woman, I felt very, very intimidated, extremely intimidated by real estate and finance. And I just started watching the YouTube videos. And then you just start talking to some folks. And if you are a real woman and you want to get into real estate, please reach out to me. More than happy to give you some time just to talk about it. But just start inviting someone to coffee. Learn about it. Okay, how did you start? What's your first deal? Maybe you just find a lead. Maybe that's your only thing. You call someone that had their house listed and they took it down, and you just find that seller's phone number with Lucia. You call them and they're still interested in selling, but they're interested in selling for less. And then you find a local wholesaler that would buy that deal from you. You can make $10,000 just by that one little action of making the phone call. So that was a rant there, but I think just the little tiny actions of getting your confidence up, at least that's what did it for me.
Well, and the reason I asked you that question specifically is because you jumped into real estate. You had a passion for it. You didn't sound like, you're kind of trial by fire learning as you building the plane on the way down. And you have, look at what you're coaching people on how to do that now in less than a year, at least, probably less than that. And as you know, and our audience may or may not, is, real estate investing has been a passion of ours since I got married since I met my wife about 12 years ago. It's been good to us. And, but I will tell you, it is something that I guess the point of if you want to call it a rant, I'm just continuing said rant, is put in that time and put in the hours and make mistakes and learn from others that are better than you, because whether it be sales or you're selling IT, it doesn't really matter. There's always someone better than you. And most people that are better than you are really willing to help out because they remember. If you've ever started from rock bottom at any point in your life, you never forget that feeling. You always remember it, and it never goes away. And so people see these successful people. Now sometimes, they go down the douche slide, but usually, they remember what it was like. Even if they play that person on TV, you call them up, they're like, hey, I totally remember where you're at. Let me help you out. Safe to say, is that?
Oh, 100%. I am so thrilled if there is a person that calls me. I just had lunch yesterday with a guy, and he's like, I just want to know, give me just 15 minutes of what the heck you're doing. What are you doing and how do I start? More than happy. And I think we both share this, Nikolai, where it's the more you learn, the more annoyed you are that you didn't know this before.
Oh.
It is how did I not learn this in college? Love you, St. Thomas, but there's a lot of things that I did not learn there. Literally nothing that I'm doing right now.
Basic finance and fundamentals. That's something that we've learned on my own. And part of it is because I learned the School of Hard Knocks on that one because I was selling ERP to CFOs. And I'll never forget, it was ONEOK. It was down in Oklahoma, oil and gas company, but it was one of them. I don't know, it was the CFO who it was. They kind of ripped me to be like, you're calling into guys like me and you're not checking the market. You're not even aware of what's going on at the S&P, any of that stuff. And they're like, you need to learn this. And when you learn it, you're going to find that there's a whole other world that you never realized, which is stock trading, which I also love to do. And I had to learn market cap, all this stuff, beta, what does volatility mean? And then that kind of rolls into understanding businesses. And then when you come back to coach said business or look at a real estate opportunity, you understand it so much more. And then you remember when you didn't know. You know what I'm saying? You're like, holy crap, that one YouTube video, or that one book, or that whatever. This now makes sense. This term I've never heard before now makes sense.
No shame. I know we've got to wrap this, but no shame. If you guys don't know what Fiverr is, it's Fiverr, and you can hire people on there. Literally 2 weeks ago, I hired a kid. He goes to NYU. He's been day trading, stock trading for 4 years. He's also into crypto. Paid him $200. And he's giving me 3 sessions of the fundamentals of options trading. What are Bollinger Bands? What's a simple moving average? What are the candles? I don't know any of this. And I didn't know, I know basics of crypto, but teach me what crypto is. This $200 is the best $200 I've ever spent. and he's out there. He's John trades on Fiverr. Like there's so many of these people out there that have this niche skill. And I think this just all comes down to never, ever stop learning. Like I am, it's almost overwhelming sometimes because I just keep wanting to just take in all of this information. You're not going to do a lot with it at first, but just YouTube is unbelievable. I mean, simple moving average on YouTube, warrior trading, like these guys have incredible content, so much real estate content, bigger pockets, RE tipster. These channels are filled to the brim with content. So yeah.
And that's, to close up a closer's episode is never stop learning. I mean, you and I could both resonate with this is it's the one thing, because of what I've learned in real estate, what I've learned in stock trading, because I paid for coaching lessons, I confidently now wear the closer shirt, say we can help you. Even if you're great at sales, there is a weakness that you have. Let's strengthen that muscle. Even if you're great at automation and you understand real estate, there is something that you could improve on. It's worth the money, because what's a real estate transaction? What's a deal that you're closing after our coaching? It's a hell of a lot valued at a hell of a lot more than probably our coaching combined would cost. And those movements never go away. So I'm with you. So the takeaway advice is hire a coach, get better faster, and move on with your life and make some money. Is that
same? No. Yep. Everyone should have a coach. 100%. Yep, I love it.
Well, Callan, to make sure our closers community supports you and your mission, where exactly should we go to hire you, find you, praise you? Where should we go?
Yeah, find me on LinkedIn. I'm Callan, Callan, and then Faulkner, like the author. You can find me on Instagram. You can find kennedyrowe.co. My real estate coaching company is Reioptimize.com. You can take a look at that for fun, shoots and giggles, and send me a message there. But yeah, reach out, callanfaulkner@gmail.com. I would love coffee, cocktails. Like I said, I love learning. So I would love to learn from you, and anything I can give is cherry on top. But yeah, that would be fantastic.
Thank you. All right, closers, there you have it. What an incredible conversation. Do us a favor and support Callan right here. So we're going to put some links of what she just mentioned. Make sure to go support her, check her out. And for those of you looking to fill your pipeline with ready to learn prospects and how to convert them into paying customers, visit us at closersmedia.com. Once again, Callan, thanks so much for being on the show. And closers, we'll see you next time. Cheers.
All right, so what do we think? What'd you learn? Well, if you like that, check out coffeeclosers.com for upcoming episodes, recordings, and more. And don't forget to check out our sponsors. Each one has been hand-selected. They are best in class. Until next time, we'll see you at the next Coffee and Closers. Cheers.
Live, come on, live a life we love. Gotta live, I said live a life we love.